Hello, it's John Binnie. I am here in my car. I'm just about to go into a beautiful hospice here in Edinburgh. And so much of my work in helping and healing others and my mentoring work has been online. And although I've done quite a lot of in-person sessions, I'm looking to extend my healing practice and my connection with people to the physical world as well. And so I've been learning reflexology, so a year-long course in foot massage, reflexology, and that goes. We've been now through like first assessment, like was written, and then I've completed my first case study. It's like 10 hours of treatments for someone. And then we also did on Sunday, we did our first like in-person, in class, uh, session where members of the public came in and we gave healing for them, which was really beautiful. And so now I'm coming along to see if I can help with, um, a placement here. So the idea is to come along for, uh, hours each week and volunteer to help provide healing to people, and the hospice provides a range of services, from in-person, inpatient care to care at home, and also care anywhere, and also like a whole range of like wellness services. And so I'm really excited to come along to learn more about what the offerings are and to chat with them further and to see if I can get a placement. And I just really the main message, like this is all like the context, but I just feel really guided to do this. I don't think I've ever really been in a hospice. My wife has. She's worked as a student nurse in one before, and I know other people that worked in hospices, but I've never done this. And it's just really exciting. Like it's really exciting adventure to be able to both take a leap of faith and also to be able to help other people. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I wanted to share this moment. So wish me luck. I'm sure I'll give you an update whether it's today or another day, just letting you know how it went, and it'll be a really magical adventure, whatever happens. So I hope this finds you well. And if you're thinking about doing something, you feel guided to do it, then take the leap of faith and do it. Okay, sending my love from Scotland. Love you. Hello, it's John. I am doing this hands free, so hopefully you can hear it okay. I wanted to give an update on my journey, as I drive home from Edinburgh to the little town I live in Scotland, and it's been a really amazing day. If I decided to, I posted earlier, um, a an update about what I was up to, going to hospice. So this is a place that provides palliative care and end of life care for people here in Edinburgh. And so I went there, and it was just a really beautiful, magical experience. Um, how would I describe it? I've never been to a hospice before, but so I didn't really know what to expect. And it was really beautiful. The building itself is right down at the sea, and it's quite close to the center of the city. It's only maybe 10 or 15 minutes drive, and the building is quite new, and it has these beautiful views. And so I I just really loved that there was this, really beautiful feeling. Like the vibe there was very loving and very caring and very humbling. The place was spotless, like so perfectly decorated and clean, and every single member of staff was just a really beautiful, bright soul. Very compassionate, very. They found it very easy to, they were very relatable, and that was amazing. And so I met up with the other students from my reflexology, and there's also like a Swedish massage class as well. And so there's seven of us, and we had like a tour of the place, which was fantastic. And they looked after us so well. We had coffees, and even offered us cake at a break. And so we did a bit of a tour. We saw the treatment rooms where, for me, I would be doing reflexology, so volunteering to do reflexology, and we'd be doing it for the members of staff there, and the members of staff there have to deal with a lot, right? I mean, everyone does in the those that help people and their families as they are ultimately preparing to enjoy the rest of their lives before their death. And so it's a real honor to be able to help the staff there who decide to, opt in for some treatments. And it was just really beautiful. I'll reflect on some of this a bit more, but just explain a bit else what we did. So we had a tour of the place, saw the treatment rooms. They're really beautiful. They reminded me of like kind of small, like we call them in the UK, like a sitting room, and they're very cozy. But they also had a lot of equipment in case, people. This wouldn't really apply to the staff members, but if people had significant mobility issues, then they could deal with that with like different chairs and hoists and so on. And if you can hear the GPS, apologies. So yeah, that was really beautiful to see, and I loved that they're very private, they're very homely, and they felt like, that when you went in there, you were being treated. It was more like many of the private ones I see, like it was very personal, and it felt the energy in them was very, very caring, and I really love that. And then we also went on to another building and had a presentation, and that was really beautiful. Like I really enjoyed it. The presentation, first of all, like focused on, like, we had to choose cards about the two different aspects. Like we had to choose, like, there's lots of these kind of postcards, and so we had to choose one that represented our thoughts and feelings about going to work at a hospice, and then also what it feel like for the people that already work there. And I chose, for what it would feel like for me, I felt like it would be a really magical experience that I was just guided to go there and to surrender and be open. And a big thing for me was, I explained that whilst I'm there for reflexology, there are many things that I offer. Mindfulness meditation, and I mentioned my recent qualification in that. And then I also, I guess, bravely, shared, I also provide quantum energy healing, clearing, past life regression. I do, psychic gift activations and even some mediumship. And I felt it was important to share, because I felt like there's magic in all these things, and we don't, whilst some of these things that I do don't yet, they're not formally recognized, and you can get certifications from different, healers and teachers, including myself. But, today's society doesn't yet acknowledge them. I guess just like many of these, every treatment starts new, right? It starts somewhere. And I thought there's a lot of magic in that. So I showed this beautiful picture of like this whale, and it had this girl that was kind of painting the whale in the sky and had a rainbow across it. And for me, it was very much about the magic. And she also had the palette, like the color palette that she was using for her painting, was sat just behind her back, like almost like there's always just a beautiful surrender to both your own magic. You know, sometimes you hold some of your own magic back so that you meet people at their vibration first, and their level, or their readiness, or their beliefs. Um, and then other times, you know, you're just exploring it all yourself. And so that was really nice. And they were, you know, whilst there'll be clear boundaries about the fact that I'm just there to focus on reflexology, and I would never want to, you know, upset people or distract them by, you know, talking about things like, I don't know, like energies or entities, or you know, things that are just day-to-day work in my spiritual mentoring, that many people, you know, don't yet subscribe to these beliefs, and so it's okay to, you know, to meet people where they're at. And you know, it's like when you invite someone, I don't know, around to your house for dinner, you don't expect to then be, you know, dragged out, I don't know, going hunting or horse riding or all these different adventures, or quad biking. You just expect to go there for dinner. And I really respect that. Like, when people consent for a service, it's important that you have boundaries around those services. Um, and, you know, respect your client's wishes. So that was really beautiful. They do a whole range of things there, and it's incredible. They do um, uh, aromatherapy, and reflexology, massage, and even Reiki, which and the fact that Reiki was there, like, I loved that, because I do teach people that are Reiki healers, and they describe my quantum healing as often quantum energy healing as, you know, kind of more advanced, right? Like, it uses many of the same. Wow, these are big holes in the road. Um, they, you know, still use like the chi energy that flows through you, but at the same time, um, it's, you know, you don't really talk to your spirit guide so much, or you don't like have channeling and Reiki. Well, it's not as far as I know. I don't, must admit, I'm Reiki naive. Like, I've experienced a couple of sessions before, but I don't know like how far it goes. But that's just what, you know, my clients and other people tell me. Anywho, going back to the hospice, the second experience, the second card I chose was what it feels like to be one of the staff, and I chose this. You know, these are people that are providing care for those, palliative care for those that are, uh, you know, on a journey to the end of life, or the actual end of life care itself, and also looking after families afterwards. Um, so that was a really beautiful card I picked, which was this little girl, and she was in a little boat, and the boat was like on a stream path going out to the the moon, and she was reaching up, and it's like you couldn't tell from the picture whether she was. You could decide whether she was placing a star up in the sky, and that's, or you know, or taking one down, and I chose that she was giving a star back, and I saw that very much for the people that work there, that when someone dies, that you're giving their soul back to the universe, you're giving it back. And I felt that was really powerful, that, you know, there's a lot of, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to look after that star in its final months and weeks and hours, and at the same time, it's hard. You know, you're human, and you have very natural um, connections with people, and it would be very difficult to care for them if you didn't have um, didn't have these connections. So that must take its toll. Like, it's hard, and so I was just really acknowledging that. And then the rest of the group did that, and it's like really beautiful reflections. Like, a lot of people were saying things. There's things like being humble, being grateful, excited, a little bit overwhelmed by some of the detail. Like, there's a lot to take in. So that was lovely. And then we also shared experiences of some of our personal values and some of our personal beliefs. We talked about respect, unconditional love, and non-judgment. Um, and I really loved all that. I felt it was really, um, really powerful. And the hospice itself like aligns with my belief, and they have this really like they're kind of one of their kind of mission statements. Their values is that they respect the values of people, and that's just so inclusive, right? That you can form any kind of organization around the values of people, and also that you allow them to be influenced by each other, which I think is really beautiful. So yeah, I came and I also met people in the course. So one of the people I knew, she's already from the class that I'm in, and a couple of others I knew from the Zoom calls that we see each other on, and then another who I think I've chatted with on one of the Zoom calls that we've been in. It's a class of about 70 of us. That was really powerful because we were chatting, and she was just saying, look, um, there's like a lot that I'm interested in just beyond the this world, and going into the metaphysical world. And I explained a bit about my different services that I offer, and she was really interested in the training, so I added her to the wait list, um, which just feels, I know it feels really beautiful. And also the person at the hospice that runs that's helping us, is really running us as a kind of student placement scheme, and then also runs all of the sessions, all the treatments there. Um, it was really interesting because they were also interested, like they were clear about setting boundaries, about I'm there for reflexology, and that's absolutely fine. But they personally were very interested in what I do, and also mentioned another psychic there, or in one of the other buildings. Um, I mean, another psychic, like we're all psychic, right? But those that have chosen to take that path and continue to exercise and build those psychic muscles, psychic bodybuilding. um, it's a funny analogy, but it's true. Like I use it a lot. I talk about bodybuilding a lot. Um, so yeah, I came away from that. Oh, I don't know. There were so many reflections. I felt like when I was in the place, um, that it was clean and very loving vibe. I mean, like the place felt like it was drenched in love. Is the only way I can describe it energetically. And under that love, and I kind of saw it, just taking it right here, I saw underneath that love, there was, and it almost looked like it was kind of ingrained a bit in the walls, which is interesting, a bit like stone tape theory, where people's experiences, whether it's, you know, super high vibration love, or, negative, trauma, when these things are stored they're stored in the walls of a place. And so I could feel under the very active and very much kept alive by the staff and the love of the families that visit there. Under that, there was this pain, and lots of these kind of emotions were coming through, like people having regrets about how they don't always feel like they can provide the best, the perfect level of care for people. And actually, the place uh, is very clearly incredibly caring, and incredibly uh, loving. And I'm sure the service they provide that goes along with that is incredible. Um, but it doesn't stop us, being human and feeling like we could have done better sometimes. And so there was some of those pains that were just kind of embedded in the walls, and it's a very human thing, right? We're all there's always some negativity in all of us, and including embedded in the homes that we live in, etc. I have no idea if you can hear me over the background noise, but we'll just keep going. So I'll keep chatting. And I also saw, when I first arrived, a couple of I guess I'd describe them as ghosts. They were more visiting. I would describe maybe as more visiting spirits. I've heard people say things like, it's hard to find a happy ghost, and that's probably true in the vast majority of cases. But because I was like interested, like, why would they be there? Why would a ghost choose to go back to that place, or a spirit choose to visit? And there was this feeling that they were there because they loved it, and they were going back for the energy, the love energy there, that feeling that they had, that being treated like a human. And I'm sure for some people, it may be one of the times in their lives that they've been treated the most humanely. So that was really interesting when I first turned up, and I decided to just kind of, how to describe it, like tone down my psychic abilities a little bit while I was there, because I just tuned out a little bit, because I wanted to be Jon. I wanted to be, the down-to-earth reflexology guy. I mean, it's still a complementary therapy, but it's very different. It's just a different frequency and vibration to the other mentoring work I do, the healing work. But yeah, that felt good, like kind of meeting the building and the staff at their vibe. And then I didn't probe too much. Like, I wasn't really interested in probing into what's there, and kind of doing like the ghost hunting thing. I think it feels like it's very respectful to acknowledge these things, and just to see that there's a really beautiful way of engaging with such a loving place, without being an aggressive psychic, I guess. So, and I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed connecting with the fellow students. They're all really beautiful souls, and I feel like as part of no judgment, it's I'm in the dark now. As part of like zero judgment, I do feel like we're all on a spectrum of our own spiritual journeys, and that everyone is spiritual, and everything we do is spiritual. And that really helps me a lot, because you don't feel as alone, right? I mean, especially, it was also like a stark difference to the energy that I feel when I'm in my corporate job. In my corporate job, people are intentionally like, pushing down and dimming their lights on their gifts and abilities, and rarely like stepping into those moments of intuition and taking time to feel guided and practice. And when they do, they make these massive leaps. They come up with amazing ideas, and they get really passionate and excited about what they do. And sometimes I've seen people only do it once every maybe 8 months, or once a year or something. And when they do, the results that they create for their customers and their teams are really incredible to see. So I thought that was a real eye opener, like the difference in energy. I feel like it's the first time I've been to a building where people work that's not a hospital, but at the same time it's this really loving um, vibration. So this might make a bit of noise. There we go. Sorry if it did. And yeah, so I love that. I really love the place. Um, and then I'd like to talk. Oh, what I'm going to talk about now. I want to change subject a little bit. Yeah. So I want to talk about unity. So there's been this download, I guess you could describe it, from my guide. It's like it's been a progressive discussion and realization and epiphany over. Like, I'm conscious of the last few weeks, but it could likely be much longer, likely years. And I don't think the topic of unity will greatly surprise you. Unity is a concept that, um, or the law of one, or like there's loads of different aspects to unity. Um, so what's really fascinating is my guides were saying very simply, they were saying this very simple message. And this was a message that I also brought up at the hospice during the training today. And so my guides explained that the reason that Earth, that planet Earth, that Mother Gaia, and every living thing upon us, upon the, um, oh my God, the road markings have just disappeared. This is quite terrifying. Um, there we go, they're back. Uh, they're doing maintenance on the work, and there's no signs to say there's no road markings. You're just going to left in this expanse. Um, okay, excuse me. So yeah, back to the simple message: unity. The reason why the whole universe, so every galactic race, is really, really interested in planet Earth right now, is because we are ascending. So, and so this is basically the story that happened: is that in our history, almost every, either directly or indirectly, galactic race around the universe has had some part in the DNA creation of the human race, but also other species. And so this ascension that the human race of planet Earth are going through is connected to every um, galactic race around the whole planet. And that means that everything in the universe is ascending together. I would just like pause in that moment. Like I don't know about you, but as a human, I find it quite hard to sometimes consider, what do you call it? Like, would it be like exopolitics? Like the the different galactic races, their different interactions, their different agendas and intentions, their different frequencies and vibrations, from the highest kind of love to the lowest darkness and everything in between. Um, and what's like the kind of hook into this is um, some of the direct experience that I'm aware of is that one of my dear friends, who I met through Shane at Unbiased on the Fence, is Eileen, and I met her in 2019 at the ESETI uh, uh, extraterrestrial ranch in Portland, over on the west coast of the US. And we had an amazing few days there together, along with the Unbiased and on the Fence tribe. And we saw loads of UFOs, and that's a whole different discussion. Um, and then quite recently, um, Eileen, like she passed on, she died, And and of course, she's not. Her soul isn't dead. She's very much alive. Um, but just after she had died, Shane had shared a a hypnosis that she'd had where um, she had encountered missing time. And going back to explain unity, in her hypnosis, she described what happened when she was abducted. Her and a friend were driving on a highway, and they were, it's a very common abduction story, or lots of common themes. But what happened was she was abducted into this UFO, into this spacecraft, and she found, like, what she explained was that in essence the greys, the grey alien race, or Zetas, are like a future version of the human race. And what they've been trying to do is, like, they basically, all kinds of bad things happened in their future timeline, and that they've come back into this timeline to do experiments on humans to try and save themselves in the future. And so the experiments they're doing are around our DNA and trying to manipulate it to understand how do humans ascend and continue on this, ascension path, and survive into the, millions of years into the future, or trillions, or whatever our future is. Um, and so, and she was saying that her soul had consented to this. And so, though it was an abduction, and that Eileen, like, wasn't, like, super, thrilled about it as an incarnation, her soul had absolutely consented, because the soul wanted to help this future timeline. So it's really admirable. And at the time, there was a lot of people taking injections, that, there's claims that it changes your DNA. And so there's lots of questions about that. Like, they're asking if she knew, whether they were harmful or not. And they were really describing it a bit like a kind of global experiment, in our DNA. And in part, it's not that it's necessarily harmful or not. Maybe in some cases it is. Maybe sometimes in some cases it's beneficial. But there's this really, beautiful experience that it's like in science, just like in kind of magic, you explore, like you play around, to find out the best way of solving a problem. And I don't want to over simplify this or pretend that there's clearly tons of problems with what's happened in our planet, the way that people's DNA have been changed, whether it's, they've consented or not, whether they've been forced to or not, and just reflecting on the facts of what was shared. So I think they're like the grey aliens, if I just call them that. So another, they're from different, or we go on to become them, and they go on to different locations around the universe, and different sizes and shapes and vibrations. And I just want to reflect on the fact that that's one way, a kind of current, present day experience, that effectively a galactic race is trying to join our ascension, trying to kind of opt in. And I know that's what a lot of the hybridization activities has been, purpose has been as well, like to help survive this future state. And it takes me on a bit, or 31 minutes. It takes me a little bit to, I remember from my kind of truther UFO hunting days before my awakening, I guess it was about almost 17 years of being interested in UFOs, maybe 15 years. Really, since YouTube started, I was really, really interested. And as part of that, I remember finding out about this thing called Project Looking Glass. And Project Looking Glass is apparently a project where people, I think it's a combination of people with psychic abilities and this technology, this device, this looking glass device, could see into the future, and that's really fascinating in itself, right? Like, I mean, I feel like I can do that with meditation and astral projection, and I know I can go into the future. But this was perhaps, what I tend to do is do it on an individual level. Sometimes I ask, a little bit about Earth's future and stuff, but I feel like we're constantly creating our reality. So much of that future depends on our intentions. Anywho, that's a rabbit hole. the the Project Looking Glass showed this event, and this event was that something would happen that was unstoppable in Earth and humanity's future, and that it didn't matter what was changed in the past or the present, none of it stops this event from happening. And it's funny, or the shift as it's known. And back then, I mean, this was maybe as much as it probably was about 10 years ago. I personally wasn't aware of things like Ascension. I didn't really understand, vibration. I was much more just, thinking about Earth kind of changes and physical things happening. So that was helpful to learn about it. But what was really fascinating was, I remember the guy saying on the YouTube video, saying that he personally kept getting engaged and they were trying to find different people to use this looking glass to look into the future and to see if they could see something different. Find, is there a way that they could change the future so that this big event didn't happen? But it didn't matter how many people they tried and looked at this, they just still had the same problem. And in other words, there's inevitability that we are ascending, or at very least some of us are ascending first. It's not all at once. So, yeah, that was this really beautiful reflection and unity that while at least one galactic race is interested in our ascension, and I know for a fact that many galactic races are already ascended as far as we're concerned. Like, they've already got way up above third dimension, fourth, fifth, and so on. They're much higher. For us, and planet Earth, for me, it feels like, and I'm just channeling a bit now as well with my guides, it feels like there is this ascension where many of us are already in our fifth dimension and we're coexisting with others. So we're like, I described, and I've seen this in the client session, of like bubbles of dimensions. The dimensions are not linear. They're far more quantum. And you can actually achieve, different dimensional states and frequencies within the same, space-time. So imagine your bedroom. You can ascend in your bedroom. I love that. So you can be very heavy, like, low vibration 3D. You could be kind of even a bit lost and dark, a bit like in the Stranger Things, upside down, and be in the fourth dimension. And then you can also go into fifth, where you're much more high vibration, and into sixth, where you're starting to blend the light body and the higher self, the lighter sides of us, with physical form, like a crystalline form can cope with that. And these are all progressions, they're all scales, and it's up to us where we draw the line at the frequencies of different dimensions. So we're all shifting through that individually, and each of us individually has an influence on the collective, because we are all
and I'm hearing the number like we're 80-20, like we are 80% ourselves and 20% the collective. And so that 20% overlap of you that is part of the collective, when you ascend, so let's say you go from, you know, third dimension to fifth dimension, the 20% of you that is shared with the collective as a percentage lifts just very slightly. So the more of us that ascend, the more our collective consciousness ascends. And so things like, today when I was at the hospice, perhaps if, more people hadn't ascended in the collective, or at very least the person that ran the complementary therapy in the hospice, if they weren't ascending, then maybe Reiki wouldn't have been present. Maybe reflexology and massage wouldn't be there at all. But and maybe if they're even higher, they would have what would you call the work I do? Perhaps exploratory or advanced, or I don't know. I can't think of a good human term, but something that doesn't yet have a qualification. But it is in traditional terms, but showing promise and showing value to people. So that's really exciting. Because it really fascinated me when my guide said to me, "Oh, John, we're there's a lot of interest across the universe right now in planet Earth, and what happens on planet Earth is really important." I've also been shown, this was in a client session on Monday night. They were saying that humans, as a human form, because we have been, these aren't quite as tightly coupled as it sounds, but one of the ingredients to our ability to hold such a massive frequency range, so we can, as our human forms, as they upgrade, we're still able to come down into this third dimension and still deal with the day-to-day grind of the chaos and stress and anxiety of our third dimensional lives, but we can continue to extend up into the third dimension and beyond. In part, our superpower and ability to do that, which is not common in other galactic races, is because we have so many galactic races that have invested their DNA into ours. And then finally, as I'm getting close to home, they also showed me that if you remove time from this equation, and if all time is happening all at once, which it really is, then galactic races interfering or enhancing or manipulating our DNA from what goes back thousands and perhaps millions of years ago is happening now. And they did that then because they know what's happening now and what's about to happen with our continued ascension. So I love that timelessness aspect, because when you remove time, it makes perfect sense. If you're a galactic race that was more advanced than us, and you could see that, I don't know, these little humans that are running around the place and collectively rising from quite a dark, suppressed planetary control system, our own matrix, our own self-imposed programming, that what's really magical is that we're now ascending into this really beautiful vibration up into the fifth dimension, and that in itself is just this incredible, beautiful, magical shift. And so of course these different races are going to want to get involved and be part of that, because there's many races that can't ascend without us, and there's many races that want us to, want other galactic races to join them. And of course, there's power struggles. Some people do, some galactic races do and don't want this. Some people do and don't want this. And I do feel like there's this free will choice that not everyone will have to choose to ascend. That we can all, because it's a vibration, right? You ascend with your vibration, and you raise your vibration by doing your shadow work and doing your practice, and you know, sharing and practicing your gifts and helping others and help them raise their vibrations and service to others. And if you choose not to do any of those things, you don't really ascend, and you get a choice to, you know, continue in a world that or a version of the world that hasn't ascended, or to coexist with those that have, but you're in bubbles of lower vibration. So yeah, I hope this helps. Um, it's been a really beautiful journey home. Thank you for listening. I'll be intrigued to hear what it actually sounds like when I play it back. So I'm just using my little Bluetooth earpiece. If you're interested in my services, please do check out my website, thejohnbinnie.com. You'll see some beautiful new testimonials from Nancy. I've been doing on the witch wound healing and the 3 to 6 month mentoring offerings. And also coming up very soon is a new instance of the very, very popular Higher Self Foundation training. And it's got this huge wait list already, and I haven't even advertised it yet. And so I'm going to put that, I'm going to spend some time tomorrow and share that, share dates and stuff. So yeah, check it out on my website. I hope this finds you well, and I'm sending you love from Scotland.